know that too often, our veterans and military spouses have had trouble finding jobs. But in these last 2 years, we couldn't be prouder that America's businesses, elected leaders, and people all across the country have joined together to help these men and women build their careers and support their families.
Hiring veterans is good for business because it's the right thing to do. And these are also people who have specialized training in a variety of areas where it's economic for businesses to hire people like that.
We are so pleased to be speaking with Steve Schwarzman, the chairman and CEO of the Blackstone Group, the world's biggest private equity firm. Blackstone has committed to hiring 50,000 U.S. military veterans in its portfolio companies by 2018. Now, Schwarzman has partnered with the White House in joining forces. It's a national initiative to encourage the private sector to hire veterans. Thank you so much for joining us.
Glad to be here.
Why are you so committed to hiring veterans?
I think it's an important thing to do for the country, but I think it's a moral thing to do. Here are people who go off into harm's way and they come back into society and they don't always get absorbed. They're not always appreciated. I've seen this through decades and the opportunity to help them, reward them with, in effect, an extra boost to get jobs is a really important thing.
50,000 is a lot of jobs. What kinds of jobs are available to them?
Well, there are all kinds of jobs. What we find in our companies, and we have 740,000 employees in our companies, that's a lot of people. And that's why I know we can absorb 50,000 over some period of time. Actually, I think pretty easily. I'm hopeful that we can exceed that. And what you find is that companies do really well when they have great people. That's the most important component. And veterans are trained to take responsibility, to execute tasks, to deal with uncertainty. And that's the type of skills that you need to be successful in the business world. It's a lot like battles. They're beautifully planned until the first shot. And then you have to figure out a different way to do things. And I think the military people have shown actually when they get jobs, they tend to do better in those jobs than non-military people.
And you haven't always seen eye to eye with the White House on everything, but you're really working together on this Joining Forces initiative. How has that been, and tell me about that bridge?
Well, it's pretty easy. You know, I get along pretty well with the president as a person, and this really started when Mrs. Obama came to the Business Roundtable and was presenting this program along with a number of the people from the White House and the Defense Department that were involved with it. And I was just sitting there listening, and I said to myself, why shouldn't we do this? This is a good thing. There's no bad that comes out of this. And I went back to New York and was driving home and just picked up my phone and dictated a note to Valerie Jarrett to give to Michelle Obama, saying, you know, this is a great thing. We'll do 50,000. We're in.
That's the way it's done.
And that's the way it's done.
How has your experience in the military shaped a little bit of your success in the business world?
During Vietnam, I was in the infantry in the reserves, so I actually learned a lot when I was doing that. I learned how to use weapons, which is something that I didn't have any experience with. But what I learned the most from training is how everybody in the infantry is dependent upon everyone else in it. And that approach is just as important in the business world, not with the same consequences. But failure comes when somebody doesn't do their job and protect the system that you're working in. And what you learn in the military is that that's critical. And so that responsibility of one person to another and one person for another is really critical for success in life.
And this is personal for you as a veteran yourself.
Yeah, I think I watched people come back from Vietnam really without a lot of glory from society and really shattered as individuals, psychologically. Some of them never got back on track, and that happens in not just that war, but in other wars. And these are good people, and they've gone through, in some cases, very, very difficult situations. And we need to be supportive. It's hard to re-enter when you haven't been in the workforce. That's why veterans have significantly higher unemployment rates, because they haven't been in the game. So they need some help just getting back in the game. And I feel quite strongly about this. And I think it's absolutely the right thing to do.
We're really hoping other corporate leaders will follow your lead in this. Thank you so much for joining us and sharing your story, Steve Schwarzman.
Well, it's my pleasure.